My name is Frederik B Hasling. I am a lawyer, partner with the law office Sancho in Copenhagen. We have 5 partners and 8 employees specialized in venture. Been working in this industry, the venture industry, for like 15 years plus. In the first place, you would normally get a term sheet where you would lay out the broad scope of the investment terms. So when you have the term sheet in place, which would normally be the step 1, then you go to discussing the actual investment documents, being the investment agreement and the shareholder agreement. Before going to the important things in the legal documents, I would actually start another place. I would start at looking at how to pick out the right investor, because I think that's really where a lot of the value lies. For me, the most important part being, what can the investor bring to the table? How can they benefit, or how can the investor actually bring something to the table that makes the company more valuable? How could they work together with the founders in making this company a great success? Looking at the investment documents, I think there are many important documents. First one obviously being around the valuation. You know, what would be the valuation? How would you calculate the valuation on a what we call fully diluted basis, as if all issued warrants and convertible shares or convertible instruments had been converted before calculating the subscription price. So that is something which you should always look at as a starting point. What would be the actual subscription price? How much would you get diluted before or after you had these new investors on board? Then you would look at the financial terms in connection with the investment. You would look at the liquidation preference that the investors are requiring. Would they require a non-participating liquidation preference, a participating preference, and would they require, for instance, anti-dilution rights and so on? Looking at the shareholders agreement, there are many important clauses. First of all, that you have the right governance structure. For instance, if you go to a seed round, would the founders then have the majority of the board seat? Who should be able to decide in the board, and also which competences? Should the investors have any veto rights? So the governance structure of the shareholders agreement, that is really important. I see sometimes founders, they give away too much power too early, meaning that, for instance, when coming to an A round, the founders, they're giving up the majority of the board, so they can't really decide what's going on in their own company. So you need to very much look at, one thing is, when looking at the investment, how much do you get diluted? But on the other side also, who would be able to make the decisions in the board or in the company going forward? And then the last thing which founders, they are, should be focused on, would be the key man clauses, how to lock or how to keep the founders in the company going forward. That could be done either by way of punishing the founders for leaving the company, or incentivizing the founders to stay on board in the company. One last point around that would be to look at the right competences in the board. So looking at what is the stage of the company right now, and which competencies do we need. The time from the beginning, when you have the first contact to the investor, until you actually have the investor on board, that depends very much on both the investor but also the company and the founders. But normally up to 6 months.